Good evening, folks. Thanks for coming out. Is everybody a unit owner here? Yes?
Yes.
It looks to me that there's two that are not.
I'm contemplating.
Oh, are you sure?
I'm sure.
Anybody else? It's up to the board. What would you like to do?
You mean whether they can stay or not?
They could stay or not.
Because they're looking to buy or what?
Well, it's a unit owners, you know, only unit owners are allowed at board meetings.
I'm sure you do.
How many people, just one person?
I see two.
Two people?
Why are they here communicating?
Ask them why they're here.
I know.
You don't live here? Who was it that,
No, it's not about living, it's about do you own?
oh, sorry. Who does not own? I didn't watch.
But I've been coming here for 50 years and I'm contemplating buying.
And you've rented it.
I
And
think
I've
that-
been a renter for a seasonal renter for three seasons.
Let just have her stay, because she knows.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
Good.
It's up to you.
I have no objection.
Okay.
I didn't ask you, sorry.
No, it doesn't matter to me. It's a unit owners, for unit owners only. Okay. Well, let them finish talking and then we'll begin. Good evening, folks. Thanks for coming out tonight. It's the annual meeting is not because there's no election this year. There were 7 that ran, 2 withdrew, so the 5 remaining from right to your right to Fred here, it's Mrs. Miriam Lucente,
Hey, Marion, welcome.
and the next one is Mr. Keith Croak.
Hello, Keith.
The third one is Mrs. Catherine Cook.
Hello, Keith.
And the fourth one is Mr. Alfred or Fred Sager. And the fifth one is Mrs. Helen Dombrowski. So, there was not enough of the proxies brought in, so there is no quorum for the members, so we're moving ahead to the board meeting. So the meeting is called to order. The notice of the meeting has been provided. The roll call, Mrs. Lucente, you're here?
Yes.
Mr. Croak,
Yes.
Mrs. Cook,
Present.
Mr. Sager.
Yes.
Good, there is a quorum of the board present. Mrs. Dombrowski is out of town at the time. The next item on the agenda is the board minutes from December 17th, 2022. Is there a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
I make a motion.
Mrs.
to
Cook.
accept the minutes as presented.
Mrs. Lucente. Is the board in agreement to pass the minutes as presented? Mrs.
Yes.
Lucente, Mr. Croak, Mrs. Cook,
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Sager, yes. The next item on the agenda is board reorganization for positions. I think Mrs. Lucente indicated director only, and I know Mrs. Dombrowski has had that title before. You're all directors, but then there are titles that the bylaws recommend. So currently, Mrs. Cook is the secretary, Mr. Sager is the treasurer. So there's a president. I don't know if you want to remain with those titles. Would you like to be the president, Mr. Croak?
That's fine with me.
Okay, because they're just titles. Some people think they're more than that, but you're all equal. So is there a motion for Mr. Croak as president, Mrs. Cook as secretary, Mr. Sager as treasurer, Mrs. Lucente as director, and Mrs. Dombrowski as director?
I make a motion as presented.
Mrs. Cook
I second.
and Mrs. Lucente.
I'm not clear when you say they're just titles, they don't mean anything. I'm not clear what that means.
Means everybody's
Tony,
equal.
why are you running the meeting? You're not on the board.
Okay, thank you for that.
The
Thank
chairman
you.
should be running the.
Thank you for that.
I'm
Okay.
not looking
No.
to compliment
No, you could do whatever, yeah. This is a board meeting and we,
And I'm asking to speak to the board.
okay,
So, Chairman, you
No.
should be in charge of the meeting.
Yeah.
That's what a chairman is for.
yeah.
Okay.
Good, thank you.
Please conduct it.
Anything else, board? So, Mrs. Cook, Mrs. Lucente, for those positions, does the board agree?
Yes.
Yes. Registered agent, I am acting as the registered agent.
This is bullshit.
Yeah,
You're not running it right, you're not authorized to run it.
right, file a
You as
complaint.
board,
The
be-
manager
you're-
always runs the meeting.
What's that?
The manager always runs the
No,
meeting.
no, that's not how you run a board of
Hey!
directors. There's no reason to have a
Hey!
chairman.
Hey,
Hey, eat me. You're a jerk.
Oh, nice.
really?
I'm still not
Yes.
clear what it means that they're just titles, they don't mean anything. Could someone explain that to me on the board?
Not now, at the end, at the end, you could ask those questions.
Does the secretary not take minutes? Is that
Yeah,
it? And the
she's
treasurer-
taking minutes. She's taking.
Oh, so they do have some meaning.
But they're not power plays, as many people believe, like the president is the whole boss of the whole complex. No, the board runs the complex.
Everyone
Yeah.
is equal.
Okay, can we please move on? Yeah, this is not necessary.
Back.
Yes, this is not necessary, it's just
It's also not allowed. Let's not do
unfortunate that it
Could you
is.
speak a little louder, please?
It's really
It's
hard
very
to
hard to
hear
hear you back here.
It is?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe if people did not talk, it would be easier. Anyway, currently, I'm the
Thank you.
registered agent. Would you folks like that to continue, or would you like to play that role?
I move to continue the same. You do a great job with it.
Second
Thank you.
motion.
Second, yes, the board is in agreement. Okay. The next thing is
Sorry,
the,
what was the board in agreement for? I didn't actually hear that back there in the
We
back.
can't hear you back
I
here.
can't hear what you
that
just voted on,
Tony
and
will-
nobody was
will
talking.
be the
Can you
registered
please repeat
agent
that
running
for
it.
us?
Hey,
That was a simple question.
yeah,
Yes.
but you don't have to say it
The
like that.
answer to your question is, did we agree that Tony, as the registered agent, would be in charge of leading the meeting? Some
Is
of us
that
are doing
legal?
that.
Has that been checked by a lawyer?
Oh,
We're not
I'm
taking
sure
questions,
about
thank
that,
you.
but we're-
Can
it's
we
just-
move on, please?
Ugh.
These dilly-dallies, these little things. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Let's just get
Sorry,
to
just couldn't
the
hear what they were
important stuff
agreeing
here,
to,
so we can,
And it
Yeah.
seemed like they were changing the rules after a complaint was made.
oh,
You just
good.
You just authorized Tony to run the meetings after a complaint was made about who was running the meetings. And I just wanted to clarify that for people in the back row who couldn't hear. Sorry, that was a polite question. I expected a polite answer. I don't think that's inappropriate.
Yeah, questions are taken at the end.
No, they should be taken when they're.
Well, when they
They're
should and when
taken-
they are two different things.
Wow.
Let us move forward, thank you.
Thank
We can't hear
you.
you. We can't hear you. You're conducting our business, Tony. That's a fair, polite question.
Hey,
there's empty
hey.
seats up here if you'd like to move closer.
No,
There's
I
one right
think
in
he
the
can
front
speak a
row.
little louder. It wouldn't kill him.
Okay, let's.
Okay, you guys, we're gonna get back to the
Please.
meeting, and everybody out there, you don't give input right now, okay? Thank you.
No.
You can give input at the end of the meeting.
Stand up and talk.
Okay. The next very important thing that's coveted positions are for the Middle River Club appointments. Is there a motion to place 3 reps to the Middle River Club? I know they're probably anxious and waiting to be appointed to that. Mrs. Cook, do you have a motion?
Can I be
I'd like to remain on the Middle River Club.
Oh, bless you.
If somebody who would like to give it a try, I'd be willing to not be on
I'd
it.
like
Well-
to volunteer
And I'll volunteer.
to be on the board for the
Oh.
Middle Club.
I make a
Anyway,
motion, I make a motion that we keep the people we have on there
Oh.
now.
Okay, so there's a first, there's a first and a second. Is the current ones are Mrs. Cook, Mr. Sager, and Mr. Rubio. There's a first and a second. Is to continue with the vote. Do you have any questions, board?
No.
No. Mrs. Lucente?
What are we voting on?
No, you're not voting. The board is voting.
You're asking if. there
To
are
approve
questions?
the motion for Mrs. Cook, Mr. Sager, and myself to be on the Middle River Club.
Do I have questions?
Would you have any questions?
I do. I have
Okay,
a question.
sure.
Is it appropriate, like, is there a vote, or?
Yes,
are
you're
we in
voting.
charge of the voting?
You are voting. The board votes. The
Well, I'm gonna
board.
abstain, because I'm not, I'll talk to you about it after. I wasn't
Okay,
really sure.
so you could vote no, but there's no conflict, so it's either yes or no. So,
It's do we keep the
She
three
voted no.
votes?
so you could put no. Mr. Croak?
Could you?
Yes. Mrs.
Please
Cook?
be quiet.
Yes.
I'm helping.
Mr.
Don't need
Sager?
your help, okay? Would you stop?
Mr. Sager? Yes.
Yes. Okay, so it passes.
So who did you vote for?
Okay. The bank signatories and bill pay credit card and, okay, currently the bank signatories are Mrs. Cook and Mr. Sager. Is that the board's pleasure to continue them?
I make a motion to continue.
Okay, Mrs. Lucente,
I'll second
Mr. Croak, is the board in agreement of that?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Sager?
Yes.
Okay, yes. The other issue that we are looking into presently, just to remind the board, is the lockbox and doing things a little more up to date. But there has not been much success in either responses or costs or whatever, but it is continuing, and the board would like to continue to move in that direction. Am I correct? Even though some websites say they have it and then they don't have it, it's been a problem getting responses from banks. So,
We can continue to look into it, but also look into what costs come with it, because a lot of
Yes.
people, they advertise things, and then when you see them, it's not the same.
Fred? Fred?
okay.
What is a lockbox?
You explain, because I'm not seeing this.
No, it's not appropriate. Anyway, so we're just going to continue on that path and we'll move towards that. This is about, it's not a board vote, it's just information really for the unit owners to be reminded of their potential responsibility if there's a hurricane and what the problems are. So I've already written to them concerning the outrageous premium we had to pay this year, and there's a potential of their deductible being on average, so it goes by percentage of ownership. Obviously, that the detail, it says on average. It goes by percentage of ownership, potential liability. But for our purposes today, it's, over $6,000 per unit. So that will be above or below pertaining, to each percentage of ownership.
And
So
that's per named storm.
per named hurricane. So what do you call it below when it's not a named, it's a tropical storm. That is something different with a different deductible. I don't recall what that is, but it's not as high as 5%. And this year, we're lucky enough to get back into American Coastal as opposed to Citizens. But unfortunately, as the premium rose, the deductible is no longer 5% per policy year, but it is 5% per named hurricane. So the higher the premium, the less coverage we have, it seems to be going. Anyway, that's just for information. Does the board have any questions?
No.
Okay. The final thing for tonight's board, oh, well, no, there's one other thing after that just came in the other day we need to discuss, but the next item is the renewal of Tony's contract. It's Vanguard Business Solutions. It's a set of circumstances. Let's hope it goes quickly. Is there a motion to accept the renewal as presented?
I make a motion to accept.
Mrs. Cook, is there a second?
I second it.
Is the board, any questions?
It's the same one.
It's the same one, it's just renewed.
Continuation.
It's a continuation, damn it. Anyway, yes, you're stuck with me again, unfortunately.
You promised you were leaving.
Yeah, believe you me, I wish I was,
Stop.
because you know what my promise is gonna be?
Don't, we're gonna
No,
go,
don't,
we're gonna get
don't,
through this.
don't,
and
don't.
get going.
Yeah,
Don't answer that.
yeah. It's gonna be a good one. So is the board all in agreement? Mrs. Lucente, Mr. Croak, Mrs. Cook?
Yes.
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 The item that just came in the other day is something new that the state has decided to do, and I sent an email on this to you concerning the elevators. Yes, they've added some, I don't know, extra safety to the elevators to the cost of $33,000.
11,000 in elevators.
It's 11,000, which actually, when we were looking for the new manager with the company, he did mention this thing, and
Yeah.
we never got who knows.
And
The
it has to
exact,
be done by December 30th?
that's correct.
By
It
law.
has to be done by December 31st, I guess. The total amount for the 3 elevators are $33,600. It's not something you really vote on, I'm just kind of letting you know it has to be done, so it will come out of the reserves. So we do have the money for it. Anyway, so
How much is in the reserves?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Does the treasurer know?
Who's the treasurer?
Fred? No, Fred,
How much is in the reserves?
you know how much? No, I don't remember.
Well, we're not taking questions.
Yeah, we're not taking questions yet. Okay, so
Budget
that,
is online if they want to look
It's
at it.
online.
well, you have the audited financial statement that has all the information.
You've already blocked me out, so I can't look.
I blocked you out? Oh, okay. I should have gotten, anyway. All right, board, I guess it's time for questions. Any questions?
Yeah, I'd like to know why I volunteered last year or months ago to go out to Hialeah to get the bushes moving forward, and yet no one ever called me.
Good question.
And we don't have bushes. If you
Good,
notice.
excellent question. Too bad this is not a Middle River Club meeting. And that's not related to this agenda. And that's another question?
But we have
But you
3
still don't
reps
have
on
an
that
answer, an update
committee,
you
so.
can provide on that. You're aware and knowledge of that, as well as 3 of you should be aware of that. You cannot provide a little crumb of data about that question?
No,
Why not?
it's not on the agenda.
Well, it's a question that the
Isn't this
gentleman
not-
is asking.
You only have one
Open the
agenda.
floor for questions.
Okay, next question?
Yeah, Fred, how much do we have in reserves?
I don't know.
He doesn't-
I don't
It's
know.
online.
It's go online.
I have another question.
Yeah.
How many people here on the board, on like a Monday, have gone around with basil in the morning?
Are you here without shoes on?
But wait a minute, is basil on the agenda?
No, I'm not talking about basil.
Is he
Oh.
in business?
If you just let me finish here. He goes around and works with the trash and stuff and the stuff that people leave outside. But the thing is that over here in Avon,
Mm-hmm.
okay, there's a real bad dog problem.
Mhm.
And I don't know if it's Basil's job to clean up dog shit that's in the hallways and piss that's on the walls. Is that his job? I mean, have you guys?
Well, I don't know, is that on the agenda? I don't see it on the
I'm asking you a
agenda.
question. This is,
Well, I know you're asking a question, but what does this have to do with the
is that
agenda?
his job?
Is it Basil?
Well-
What is the agenda?
Because here's the thing.
What is, you were emailed
You have
the
You have
agenda.
all these people that are renting.
Right.
I got nothing against renters, but.
Well, you could if you
Well,
want. Yeah.
listen,
Uh,
you're only supposed to have 25%.
Oh.
You have
okay.
more than 50%,
Correct.
okay?
Yeah.
25 and 50 is a big difference.
Yeah.
And most of the people that have dogs are supposed to be
It's on
what?
the agenda.
No, it's not on the
PTSD,
agenda.
right?
Just keep
Service
letting him go.
dogs. Service dogs,
Uh-huh.
right?
Nope,
Right.
I'm not standing
Okay,
for it.
so if we have people with more than one dog, are they mentally ill?
Okay, sit down.
I'm just asking you a question.
Okay, you asked your question.
Have you done that?
You can sit down now.
You could,
Have you taken and went around with him?
Okay, if you don't sit
you
down.
don't, it's still not on the agenda. You've asked your question. Anything else, folks?
Turned into.
Do you want to discuss it?
We can't.
Well, I do. I have
It's
two.
not on the agenda.
How do we get things on the agenda so they can be discussed, please?
We don't have anything to do with making the agenda, so how could it be on the agenda?
Correct. It's a board business
And is this
meeting.
new business, is there a place on the agenda called? new
For
business?
board business, not your business.
Oh.
You send an email to the association with your concerns.
Tony, you told me to stop taking and sending emails of things that need to be